Hi, this is Libby Hickson, and I am very excited to be doing my very first video tutorial for the greatest website in the world, Splitco Stampers. And for my tutorial today, I'm going to show you how to make a snow globe card. To begin, you will need a circle cut out of acetate or window sheet. Mine's a transparency sheet, and it measures 3 3/4 inches across. And let's set that aside for now. The paper I'm using on this card, and here are my 2 pieces of cardstock. And what we're going to do with these is make a pencil mark 1/4 inch from each edge of the cardstock. I will line it up on my grid paper and make little pencil marks. Repeat that for all 3 pieces of paper. The way to create the tapered base, I will line up this piece of paper in my trimmer with one corner of the paper right in the track for cutting, and the other end lined up with the little pencil mark I just made. And just trim that right off. And do the same thing again on the other side. And once you've done that, you end up with a tapered base. I have trimmed both pieces of white cardstock as well as the pattern paper. The pattern paper itself is the front of your snow globe. So I'm going to take that now and adhere it to my acetate circle. And I do that just by putting a little dab of adhesive down at the end, at the bottom, and lining it up, centering it how you think it looks good for your snow globe. Centering it to create a snow globe. And now that I have the front of the card together, I will take the piece of 4x6 cardstock and create the base of the card. Now with my 4x6 piece of cardstock, I score one end of it at 1/2 inch from the end, which is about right there. I like to use my trimmer and a bone folder. You can certainly use anything else, a score pal, etc. Or you can just not score it at all and just fold it over. But I like to have a scored edge to fold, makes it a little easier. The next step is to take the paper that you just folded, in my case the red cardstock, and put the acetate base right on top of it, right over the folded over edge. And you're going to take a pencil and just trace around the shape of the snow globe, and that is going to help you make the base of your card. I'm just tracing around. You're going to have to trim off a little bit at the bottom, but that's okay. It all depends on how you line your acetate circle up with your base, on how much you'll end up having to trim off of this. And hold that flap down and go right up over it. Okay. And now I'm just going to go ahead and cut that out. And now you can see I have my red card base trimmed out, and I have this little flap that's left over from where I had folded over the paper. And so that's what we're going to use to attach to the acetate circle. But we're going to hold on to that. We're not going to do it quite yet. I'm going to set that aside. Now I'm going to take the acetate circle, place it on some white scrap paper, and trace around it. And this will allow me to create a little snowdrift to put on the top of it, which helps hide our little flap that attaches to the card. And I just made the little arc from the top of the freehand in a snowdrift. And the idea of that is to have it be large enough to hide your flap that's on your red piece. up here. So if it's not quite large enough, you can always go and trim a little bit off your red flap, but that's what you want to keep in mind as you're drawing that. And now I'm going to cut it out. Now I have my snowdrift, as I like to call it, cut out, and what I'm going to do now is put that on top of another piece of white cardstock, trace around it, and cut it out. And this is going to be a piece that can go on the inside of the card to hide the back side of that flap, just so we have everything neat and pretty and no ugly bits showing. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock and set this on here and just trace around it one more time. One thing I want to point out when you're cutting this out, you want to make sure and cut on the inside of all your pencil lines rather than on them or on the outside, just because you want it to maybe be a tiny bit smaller than your piece that goes on the top, because you don't want any of it to peek through from the back of the card, back of the acetate circle. So just something to keep in mind as you cut it out, which I'm going to do now. The next thing we're going to do is assemble everything. So we're going to begin by taking our acetate top piece and our base and putting just a little bit of adhesive up here, sticking them together, and then putting the snowdrift on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And now I've finished putting together all the various pieces, and this is how it looks when it's at that point. I added my snowdrift at the top and my corresponding snowdrift on the top inside. One thing I didn't mention earlier is when you put this piece on your acetate, you can put one of your white cardstock pieces on the other side of it to help hide the seam with the acetate and also to make it a little bit sturdier than if you just had pattern paper. And then I also put my second piece of white cardstock in the inside of the card as well. And now the only other step is to decorate it, and so I'll show you my finished card. And this is my finished card. I added a little snow girl in the inside. This is an adorable image from Firecracker Designs by Pamela. I used some snowflakes from the same set on the outside of the acetate with white Stays-On ink, and I added a little stickles at the top on the snowbank to give it a little shimmer, which I love. And then some other embellishments, some ribbon and buttons and snowflakes and such. And here are a couple that I've made in the past. This is actually the one that's on the written tutorial here on Split Coast. And on this one I actually put white flour soft up here on the snowdrift just to make it look really snowy and warm and fun, or cold and fun I should say. And again, that adorable snow girl that I love so. Here's one where it's red, black, and craft, which I like that color combo a lot as well. And finally a fun, different colored one where she's wearing her pink coat, and we added a flower to that one and some polka dots. I love polka dots. I think some of you know that, but I just love them. So anyway, here are all the cards, and I'm really hoping that you will make a snow globe card as well, and I'll be checking the gallery, and I'm very excited to see what you might create. All right, thanks for watching today. Bye.